Hey, everybody. This is me, Chris, and George. This morning, my morning, we're going to have George with no sound, and Chris is going to play him at 6 stones and walk us through his thinking. And George will do his best. George is supposed to lose this game because Chris is really, really strong. But when George plays well, which he knows how to do, could be pretty tough on Chris. So we'll see how it goes. And it's all about, how do you play a handicap? What's on Chris's mind? Okay, guys, take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, so far,
I am so glad you came up. I never come up.
Yeah, so normally in the handicap games, I have different strategies depending on how many handicaps there are. But with six stones, I try to get 2 corners worth of territory. And then I try to make the D10 stone and the Q10 stone sort of bad placement. If you can do that in the natural course of other exchanges, then oftentimes you can end up with a situation where your opponent sort of naturally loses a little bit of their advantage.
You probably don't feel any particular need to add a stone here, right?
Nah.
You like to play things lightly.
Yeah, I was just considering which corner I wanted to go after. I'm choosing the bottom left corner. Not that there's going to be any ladder variations, but sometimes fighting in some of these shapes, if George chooses to play aggressively, the fighting can breed some ladder tactics or whole board tactics, which can work well with the upper right corner. Seems George has lost internet.
He may have gone off on purpose.
Well, he lost connection in the game also briefly. Yeah, so it seems probably was an internet issue. But
sure.
In general, I'm a fan of going into the diagonal corners like this. I was also considering F17 on the top side, but I'm not really in a rush to play there. Okay, I'm going to push one more time. Knight's move would be very solid, but after Hane, it ends up getting leaving a cutting point, which could be useful.
This black F4, I've had a hard time knowing quite how to play against it.
It's a really thick move. Normally G2 would be the standard extension, but I have 3 stones instead of 2, so I'm going one farther. It's a little thinner. There's an attachment to G2 he can aim later, but it doesn't directly cut white. It just leads to a squeeze from the corner. So I've achieved 1 corner so far. I will be guaranteed the 2nd corner shortly, since he cannot protect both. And then it's a matter of how to sort of break his sides using his side extending placements. That's just I'm not trying to think of anything too deep or complicated in these 6-stone games, because one of the benefits of playing white in these handicap games is that your opponent's much more likely to make a mistake than you. So George is committing 1 more move to this corner, which I think is a bit strange.
Well, I like it in that it bothers white a lot. White can't do that settling, so it's beneficial. I guess you can still live in there.
Yeah. It's just, I think that right now the attack is like it's a long-term prospect for black, not really a short-term thing. The 2 stones for white are quite light. I can sacrifice them if need be, so I'm not particularly pressed by Q18, if that makes sense.
That's actually very helpful to me. At first, I saw his Q18. I was so glad he was attacking. Then I realized, well, that's not his territory, and it's a premature attack. I hadn't considered it that way.
Yeah, so here he's playing very thick. Hmm.
Oh, I'm going to enjoy watching you play this game. This would be hard for me.
Okay, I'm going to push one more time and just offer Hane again. This time, if he extends, instead of giving me the weakness, I'm planning to attach at E10 and probe at the left-hand side again.
Uh-huh. That's funny. I'm finding this so exciting.
And all the while, I'm sort of just keeping in the back of my head how the territory is catching up a little. And Black has probably made close to 12 points. That's in the upper right corner with Q18. There's still invasions around S15, S14, so we can't give the whole corner, but not we could extend again. Okay, that's fine. This is all part of the plan. And now he's going to have to have some bothering here.
This idea that White really has very little idea what to do on the left. So to simply, this idea of asking questions.
Yeah.
And when he, like here, he shows there's a hole on the upper side now. Great, then I'll go that direction. That's really a great way, especially with handicap. But
yeah. Also, contact fighting is tending to be, like, how do I say, more favorable to stronger players in general anyway. Weaker players tend to have to read more variations, so they burn more time. They get into trouble because even though they can maybe read some sequence, they might not find the best one with their intuition. So, like here, we can see because George is thinking, you know, he prepared Hane to be the strongest move, but he maybe didn't really have an idea of how to answer White's double Hane. But now that he's connected, it's a bit of a good exchange for White on the left already. Okay. Let's do.
And go ahead and explain this next move, because there's lots of things you could do here. Just ignore. Man, that's not the first thing crossed my mind.
I could defend, but then Black has the initiative. I'm giving him a chance to use his thickness. But these two stones on the left are forcing exchanges, and Black has played very sort of defensive against them. He hasn't really tried to accept provocation by cutting. So I just treat them like, okay, they're good forcing moves for White. I've gained some benefit by creating some type of logi on the left.
Yeah, and he's looking a little heavy there, a little over-concentrated. So.
Yeah, and so I can just sort of leave it. You know, I can sort of leave it here. So George has been having this habit this game of extending a lot. He seems to really not want to give Hane weakness. So I think we can sort of punish the stubborn style that he's gone with this handicap game. I'm going to play something a little bit faster that leaves a weakness in my shape so that later I can bait him to actually giving me the fight that I want.
If we're going to ask a question like, how much has White gained? How much of the 6 stones has he got back? I wouldn't put it at a stone yet, would you?
No. I think it's too early to have earned a stone back.
Yeah.
The trading has been fairly even. But if I'm patient, a mistake will come. Either he's going to get really impatient himself and try to attack 2 stones again, or I'll have a chance to break another place and try to start another fight. He can't avoid every fight. Otherwise, he might give up too much. So we'll see. Or maybe he will be enough to win. Is he going to be a coward this game, or is he going to
Yeah. And we have to
stand up here?
accept he's getting 6 stones. He's supposed to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
And if he plays well, he will.
Mm-hmm.
But chances are he won't.
Well, mistakes should come, right? We're hopeful that at the 2Q level, he cannot avoid a blunder forever. It just takes one mistake to crack the armor, and then mistake begets mistake begets mistake. Usually once, oh look, the prophecy is coming to fruition. He is attacking. Okay. How to continue from now? How to continue from now? I could move the stones and accept the fight. And somehow it's not super attractive.
What do you think about right now sacrificing them and using them in the upper right to live? Too early?
It's a possibility. I want to probe his right side and see what his intentions are. I'm making this exchange first because if white ever decided to jump out, black's Q12 is super stable on the right. It's going to be hard to invade.
Yeah.
So I want to ask it and break the right side a little first, make the situation a little more unclear. Well, from my opponent anyway. It'll be a little more clear for me. So far, he's playing very strong, though, I think.
Yep.
Now, there is a world where he could simply give an Atari here, and after white connects, he can try to seal with some move like N13. And it's certainly big if he plays that. He'll effectively capture the 2 stones. But the Agi will be very high. He'll have a lot of thin shapes for white to aim at in the middle game. So it's really about just trying to find the benefit where your opponent can give it, you know. You can't invade everything and live and hope to win the game that way. It'll be too much for the opponent. So you have to just constantly ask for retrades. Like, we try to retrading, and then if you know, their evaluation at some point, they're going to make a bad trade. Okay. And so here I'm continuing with the theme of light play and just asking questions with forcing moves. White hasn't committed to anything yet. This is an important detail, I think, for players. If white had, for example, connected at R11 or played R12, white would be making the statement, I'm going to take a living stance on the right-hand side. And then black would get to squeeze it and forcefully capture the 2 stones, which would be not a great result for white. And so this attachment, of course, I'm asking black, would you like to attack my base with R13 Hane and give me natural stepping to the outside, or will you extend to P14 and resist, and then allow me to encroach the corner? It's a much more active way of achieving some type of acceptable result rather than just Q12 or Q11 and being forced to a small.
He's playing awfully strong. Might be a little slow, but awfully strong.
He's doing very well. Okay. I'll stretch this way first. R9 is an important move. White will eventually want to come back to R13. I'm choosing to play this one first, though. It helps a little with R11 cut. And it's also sort of preparing for a follow-up attack on the 3 stones.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got to be thinking about those bottom right 3 stones right now. For listeners, Chris just went through a hurricane in, I assume it was Florida.
Yeah, the Florida Gulf Coast.
And
We were in
his
evacuation zone
neighbors
A.
were wiped out here and there, and he got a bit more lucky, but quite an event.
Yeah, it's not as bad for us as it has been for other people.
Yeah.
There are several people say I do pool cleaning as well during the day now. This is actually a move I thought George might play, but it's a mistake. I was going to talk about it, but I decided to wait to see if it would come. Q players play this type of extending defensive move a lot, but doesn't mean much. Actually, answering R9 with P7 is just a good exchange for white. I would have preferred to see black play a little more actively here. Instead of something super defensive like this, black could have played Hane at R13, which was quite big because now that black can take it, it's sort of white's privilege. So if we look at it sort of in reverse order, R13 is white's natural response to black's extension at P14. It's the continuation. But white got the continuation, but then somehow it's like black didn't Hane at R9, black jumped. So in the Tawari, it just doesn't make sense to play P7. There was a convoluted way of explaining that, but I think players will hopefully get it. This one I also think is a bit of a mistake. He's investing too many stones now to try to capture an area that's so small. Okay, please take it. I'm going to get some more Aji, some more use out of the stone from the corner. So I'm going to use this peep, which is kind of whole board. It's not attacking anything yet, but as white comes out to H17, those two stones on the left are in a really good spot. What would he do? Playable, for sure. Playable. Now we're in the direct attacking stance.
Yeah, black's upper left wall just kind of pinged, like, oh, I can smell something coming.
Yeah. I think a strong player will probably C11 Hane or maybe F10 Atari here. They would stop white from moving on the left-hand side, and they would not focus on preventing connection with the upper right two stones. Actually, 017 stones now are not really the topic of the conversation anymore when white steps here. So black has to have the good judgment and recognize white F10 is coming. So black still wants to say he's in the attacking stance. Okay. Now he's going to have to prove it.
You're leaving the cut because the ladder works for you?
Yep.
Looks like it. It's not familiar to me to leave a open shape like this. I'd be so concerned about him peeping at E12 and then just coming after me. And I have no shape. If he peeped at E12, would you connect?
Probably. I think I would. I don't really see a stronger continuation. Doesn't look like D12 push is accomplishing much. So I think connecting would be strong. The problem is that the two stones on the top for white are also light. So if black is fighting here, I just need to save the left. Saving the left will reduce a little bit too.
Yeah.
And my goal is not to save all three of these groups, you know, the O17, the J16, and the F10. I'm just looking for whatever value he's going to give me. But I am relying on him to fill in the gap, so to speak.
So this attitude of what profits is he going to give me versus what am I going to go do? Interesting.
It's because I don't really have a lot of strength on the whole board yet to make a demand. So I can only take what he gives me, what he's giving. Like this one, he's making the suggestion that he would really like to break the ladder and cut me. And so naturally, white might consider playing Tiger's Mouth to protect the cut. That doesn't mean much. Now that he's played G17, he'll simply kill the 2 stones on top. So if I answer in such a passive way on the left-hand side without a clear follow-up, it's not going to accomplish much of anything. So we're going to...
Now, you say the Tiger's Mouth won't accomplish much, except giving you shape and comfortable life kind of thing.
Yeah, when I say accomplish much, I mean it doesn't do more than just the face value purpose. It'll defend white, but then it doesn't then prepare much to attack black.
I see, a clear one purpose rather, something like this, which is affecting the both 2 groups at once.
Yeah, so I'm leaving the cut again. I'm leaving the cut again, but it's sort of like offering a retrade, because even though he can cut it, and white will technically be separated on the left, there's still things white can do with that. So it should be okay for white. This is a good move. Shape-wise, this move is very strong. Normal way would be maybe jump. Need to check it. But if I jump at J18, I'm going to give him opportunity to force more against the corner in a meaningful way. So I'm not so sure I like it. If I answer now at the left-hand side, what's any meaningful follow-up? Bump, block, Hane. You still have this. It would become fighting situation, but not so clear now. If black extracts M17 to make white locally dead, white can aim the thinness. Okay.
Interesting.
I'm doing a little bit of reading. So he can try to extract the M17 stone. If he does it, I can use the J18 move to help protect a little bit and then try to aim the Okama on the 2 space. I just don't want to be in a situation where I'm just passively taking Gote for single purpose. I want to sort of always be trading as the values are changing. That being said, I'm not 100% confident in E12 being the right move. It's just I have an idea. This move is important. This one is to kill off M17 and help secure the base. If the result ends up being that white lives and black connects through the center like this, I think this result should be better for white. With white having F10 sort of thick now poking into the middle, it's going to be very hard for black to keep it.
Yeah, this looks like you living in both spots, which means you've used up a huge amount of space.
I would say that he's lost about a stone now.
I would have put it 1.5 stones.
It might be closer to 1.5 stones. There are a few stones on this board now that are not really making sense to me. Q18 doesn't seem to be in the best place. P7 seems to be in an awkward spot. That stone, I'm not really sure what it's doing. G13 is okay, but even that one can be questionable given this board. So it seems George is going to decide to go sort of heavy on the center. His turn must be correct here. Some players might have reservations about turn because black can jump to H8 and continue to build the center. But we have to remember also black's left-hand side group is not 2 eyes yet. So still black will be losing something to gain points in the center. It's not free. So even though H8 looks like so nice place, it's kind of black is going to have to endure some suffering on the left to take it. Yeah, h8 comes. We expected it. Normally white is jumping for reduction, but I think here white needs a more severe way. Hane is my first impression. Hane double Hane. But then I begin to wonder if the Hane exchange is necessary. Can white start at d7? The triangle seems annoying. To triangle, we can play that becomes, we can Hane. Okay, seems Hane must be the right way.
For viewers, check out how little actual reading White has done in this game. He's played general, how things look, discernment kind of stuff. But just, I think it's 2, maybe 3 times so far. Okay, let me read this out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I go in my games. It's like, I don't like reading, and it takes so much time. I try to just do it, 3, 4, 5 times a game, unless it's a tournament game. Then
Yeah,
6, 7. That takes a lot of time, though.
I think a lot of that comes down to, in general, even with the way I teach, I'm very have a plan and start with your idea first type of person. So, but that's just coming down to, as a kid, I used to study a lot of pro games. So coming up with the plan or having a good idea of direction is just maybe something that's a bit more fluent for me. I didn't work a lot as a kid on reading, so the reading part of my game is slightly worse than others. I just read to verify most of the time. It's like, okay, I have this idea. Can I try for more? If not, then just play the normal way. That's what I'm doing here, right? Like, if black blocks, there's potential for double Hane. But then I thought to myself, okay, Hane double Hane, can we just start at d7? Do we need the Hane exchange first? But then black will play on the triangle, and then what does that look like? And that gets a bit complicated. It's hard to see if the result is going to be clearly better. So I just think to myself, okay, Hane should be enough. This move seems to be off the topic. If we count the territory, white's bottom left is about 10 to 12 points. If white takes the next move, the bottom right is about 10 points. The right side is about 8 points, possibly 10 with the next move. The top side is a good 5 points. And the upper left corner should be reducible to maybe 4 to 5 points. So if we count just general estimate, it would be like 5, 10, that's 30, somewhere in the neighborhood of 35, 40 for white. Black is trying to make in the center 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 6 by 9, and that's all black's territory that black has. So 6 by 9 is not so much more than I have already, right? That would be 54 points minus white's roughly 40-ish. Black's about 15 points ahead if I give him the whole center as is now. So really, this move is not scaring me. It's like, oh, big scary center, but we counted, and white's almost there already. But this black move did not respond to my threat. If the 3 stones on the left side die, then white is going to be doing very good on territory. Of course, white still has to stop black from getting the upper right corner, points in the upper left, points on the right. There's going to be other places white's going to have to reduce and try to gain to make the center not enough. But I think this h5 for white d8 is a mistake, and I think this move is also a mistake. George is going a little bit too hard in the paint now to try to say, okay, I'm just going to have the big center and it's enough territory. Okay, just ask it. For white, my only real weak group now is this top group. So I'm going to make exchanges that are sort of good stabilization exchanges and ask good questions. Now I don't think his Descent or Kosumi have any big life and death impacts against my group anymore. Thinking about whether slide at S15 is a good timing now. The problem is that the corner is still awkward. S15 is not really a sente. Black doesn't need to answer. And so I don't think it's the biggest thing for white to be doing yet. Bottom area is clearly where he wants to come next. But still, I have to worry. He's got C8 Hane, which is worth some liberties to cut at E8. So I think we'll just defend it and be very thick. For viewers that wonder what this one might be, it's just preventing his Hane to maximize territory, and it cleans up the Aji of the cut. Just a very thick move. Of course, now I'm giving to black his right. He can press my bottom with M3. Bottom is very low for white on the second line, so I can't really look to resist much there. But there's enough places where black wants to play to make points that even if black takes one, I can take another, and the game will go on. It seems to me that the handicap is probably closer to halfway gone now.
Yeah.
Okay. This Hane connect is good exchanging. Okay. Should be okay for George, I think. He can block this. Giving white the Hane at H17, I think, is too much, so block is a must move. Oh, it appears I was wrong. This is very aggressive. So black is saying it's black's right to use this thickness to attack like this and gain points. Okay. Except I cannot allow him to connect now. Otherwise, C7 is bad placement. But one exchange doesn't really mean much. If white can clamp or Hane, it's not really gaining anything, just losing points. So
yeah, when you look at the black-white exchange, the Blackstone looks, what's it doing there?
Yeah, it's only making sense if black spends one more step, but next step is gote. It's not meaningful.
And not very big,
So black should again return to this H18 move. This is a case where black didn't play the best move, and some player might think, oh, white should H17 to punish. And H17 was certainly big in its own right, but in this sort of shape, you can't allow him to break the left-hand side so cleanly. I think that's even bigger than taking the top. So it's okay to accept this exchange, accept that exchange, because it's a bad exchange. If he blocks H18 now, it's worse than if he didn't make this exchange. So we should be happy to accept it as a gift from black. He feels sorry that we have to fight through 6 stones handicap. So, you know. Now the press on bottom side is coming. This is what we expected. A normal answer is 03, but actually the white corner is already alive. This is a detail strong players will know, and so we have to always compare. In opening stage, early middle game, there's not going to be much bigger than pushing at 03 and clamping or cutting. But here, it seems that this Hane should be bigger than answering black. Black can block it M2 and force white to extend and protect the corner. But value at the bottom side is very small compared to white's Hane on the top now. I like the top shape. It's become so clean.
Yeah.
It went from 2 corners or 2 areas worth about 5 and 10 points to the whole top side now worth 25 plus. It's quite an interesting development. So here, white's managed to successfully break d10, so black lost a little bit. Also, welcome back.
My wife was on her way to her swim class.
Oh.
But she didn't want to walk in to get the towel because then someone might see her in her swimsuit.
Understandable.
So I got her.
Understandable. Extension. This one must not be correct. It's a bit. I think he's afraid I was cutting, but actually, cut wasn't working. Okay. Let's give it.
I would have played this J3 a few moves earlier. I thought it was pretty valuable, but what you've been playing is awfully valuable.
Yeah, I think the top Hana was really, really big. Okay, now we can aim this corner. The game is beginning to transition. Also, welcome back, George. I don't know if he hears us, but the game is beginning to transition to endgame.
Yeah, I was just ready to say, isn't it endgame? Then I realized the upper right corner, not quite done yet. But this white move is sort of the first in-game move.
Yeah, it's very Yosei-esque. We might transition back to the middle game for a few moves if white is able to attach a Q7 or something. Right a little bit. I wasn't certain it was going to be bigger now than playing this game first, so I wanted to.
Yeah, this corner's pretty big.
Press the corner before black got a chance to play escort to keep it. The big end, like the large end games with the Japanese would call Oyose, is still the hardest part of the game for me, actually.
Huh.
Because sometimes evaluation, like, okay, I have maybe some attach at Q7 or some center reduction or some slide like S16, how to judge what's the biggest. It's not so clear sometimes.
Yeah.
This extension,
most of us do it in a very general, vague, but when you get up at 8 dawn, you better get kind of specific. Yeah.
I think we'll just ask it. There are a few different ways that I could be handling the right side. So I'm trying to probe to see what Aji he'll give me. I could turn at Q9 to poke in and then jump. I could do Q8. I could do Q7. I'm a bit unsure, so I'm starting at 04 to create cuts and then Hane to connect in the corner and maximize the corner territory before deciding. Okay, give it. Hmm. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20, 22, 24. 2, 4, 6, 8, 36, 2, 4, 6, 8, 48, 55, 56. It's about 58, maybe 60 points worth in the center. White's territory, if I'm able to capitalize 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 16, 18, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 4, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46, 8, 52, 4. So still seems I'm trailing a little bit in the end game. As it stands at the moment.
I'm counting you 10 to 15-ish behind.
Yeah. Seems about right. At least as the board stands so far. Okay. This is sort of must. This was his right. Now he should leave it. He should leave it.
Yeah, so at this point, a small error, 2 to 3 points, Couple of those, bam, you're right there.
Yeah. Okay. Sente, I must answer. Too big to give it. So right now, I think a lot of players might feel stressed about endgame, even though I can count on behind still. It doesn't mean that I can be hurried or not play the endgame logically. Your opponent is his right to play all his centes, and so you have to be aware that like the endgame is just a conversation of exchanging centes. This one, this move seems maybe not the biggest. Still is possible, I suppose. Okay, let me ask it. For those that are confused as to why White's not answering with something like the M18 Atari, is that Black's continuation locally is smaller than other endgames on the board, so it's just a matter of sizing.
Yeah.
Black has already taken the N19 place. I cannot get that territory back. I just have to calculate the size of its follow-up versus other moves. And I think if he ignores this to play on the top again because it doesn't have life and death threat, my breaking the center should be bigger.
Yeah, his monkey jump N19, I find, and I think others feel the same way. Oh my God, that's so big. I better respond rather than, yeah, that's big, but the next one isn't. So letting him have it.
Yeah. So now it's because he gave up the Sente, it's sort of now my turn to take my Sentes. This is what I'm intending to do. And because upper side value is smaller, I'm playing for corner now rather than something like P18.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll ask it again.
I put him on the counter. Or they're in my, no, not in my pocket. Okay, hon. It's okay. Should put it on the keys. So if this is Gote, that's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
It seems. So awful lot of Aji there.
A little bit. In retrospect, it's probably better to play B3 first than before connecting. So it might have been an error in endgame, but he's also getting very low on time.
Yeah.
So much more likely the endgame mistakes will come because he's only got 30 seconds to count and find the right move. B3 should be the biggest endgame next on this board. I think even at George's level, he should be able to find it.
I keep hearing D3.
B as in boy.
Ah.
The corner awning/extension. If George is having a difficulty reading this right side, he'll answer. Yeah. But actually answering was not necessary. So now we can take the biggest place. But still, I think George is ahead. I don't think I have caught up enough to win yet. 6 stones, he's doing quite well.
I don't agree with his style. I'm gonna play smaller moves so you can't catch me.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give up 2 here, 5 there, 3 there. Go ahead, catch up 4, even 5 stones, but I'll
Yeah.
still have enough. That's not a good style.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not a style that translates well in even games, I find.
Yeah.
It's probably good for winning a handicap game.
Yeah.
So in tournament, that's probably okay in like handicap situation. But if the goal is to improve one's game in the even game, then I think it's also a bit disingenuous. At least like to oneself, not so much to like the teacher, because I don't really care one way or another if I win or if I lose it. This one is really small. Not sure about that one. Many parts of the board that are big now. Many parts of the board that are big. Play a little bit. Yes, Vicente.
Score
feel-
estimator.
Hmm?
Score estimator has you ahead by 2.5.
I'm glad it has faith in me. It also thinks that the B9 stones are dead. Oh, this one. He says it's the timing for now, huh? Hmm.
So for viewers, let's pick a number, let's say 10 points. Hey, I played a 10-point move. That's so big. Well, was it double gote, which made it an incredibly small 10 points? Was it double sente, massively large 10 points? I had someone recently play 6 moves to get 20 points, all of which were gote. It's like, oh, that's just so painfully small. So these moves George is playing on top, monkey jump, gote. Next move, that was gote. So that's worth understanding.
Mm. I agree. Definitely agree. And there's like multipliers in counting you put between sentes and gote. Like generally speaking, sentes are like double value, and like gotes are like half value for the most part. Well, at least the double ones. The best gote you could be playing is the reverse sente, right? The gote that takes away a sente from the opponent. George is down to 2 overtimes. I wonder if he's paying attention to his clock.
I think he is. He's very familiar with this low on time.
From the Kadoban, huh?
Yeah, he's really, uses a lot of time on his clock. He always runs down to last Byoyomi.
Okay. I think he's just barely holding on to his small lead.
Mm-hmm.
And the lead has become quite small now. I'll extend. He wants to cut. Okay.
Cute little moves here you're doing, Chris.
I think he just threw the game.
Wow. That was an amazing sequence. I did not see it. Ah! Man, Chris, you just pulled that out of thin air.
I
And
can
you
only
did it
take
by never playing moves you didn't need to play. You left the options open, which allowed him to step over the line. Very nice.
Now that we're in a comfortable position, we'll add 5 minutes to George's clock. We'll just let him marinate in what he's done. You know?
That was nice. Wow. Oh, man.
Yeah. That's a pretty big loss. I think that will probably put White ahead by like almost Comey, actually. 2, 4, 6, 12, 15. Yeah, so White should be ahead by about 5 or 6 points.
So we could say that Black only made one mistake this game, rather than poor judgment.
Yeah, one losing mistake, I'd say.
Wrong. Oh, that was a wrong direction of play.
Yeah.
But no, one mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. Only one.
Mm-hmm.
What? Pretty good.
Oh, we have a Ford on watching now. This person just lost to Yannick, and now they've disappeared. Okay. He said, oops. Yeah. For any of those wondering what it is I'm trying to do, it's a bit of an end game dance. I'm trying to squeeze.
Connect under Incente.
Yeah, basically that's the goal. Just get the ability to squeeze the end game from M1. Of course, you can still block with M1 and connect, but then I can squeeze L1 and connect also in the future. So it might have been a bit rushed, so probably I needed to connect it P3 first. Oh, this one.
No.
This one is bad. He should have blocked, but now this one is better than just simply connecting. It's worth like an extra 3 points, almost 4 points.
Yeah.
And then I think he's going to throw my towel there. Yeah.
That's great.
Hey, I'm back.
Welcome back, George.
Oh, what an embarrassing mistake.
Thank you so much for that donation on the top side.
You're very welcome, Chris. Very welcome.
Chris and I were just saying that mistake of yours on top was actually the first mistake, not wrong direction, wrong discernment, but mistake. We made one mistake in the game.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that one needed to be like this. Then if White connect, Black connect, and then White could play here, for example. This end game would have been cleaner. Black would still be leading something like 8 to 10 points, I think.
Yeah, you were still there, George.
But the end game was tricky. White might have been able to catch up if Black made enough small mistakes, but Black was winning the end game most of the time. We sort of go back to the beginning.
I felt like I played a very passive game. Like everything I did, I had to spend the whole move in order to do it, rather than kind of training naturally. It felt like I had to, work really hard.
Yeah, so it's like a style. The style you played with is like okay for high handicap game, like to win. But in general, this way of play does not always translate well to you. So just something to keep in mind. if the goal is to win in a tournament, play this way, you can win quite easily. But if the goal is to learn from the handicap game, I would recommend playing the handicap game similar to your normal mid-game style. And basically, you just make it, okay, how do I use the stones that are already on the board to complement what I would normally want to be doing anyway? So here, when you played this super thick move, I was like, okay, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because he's got the stone here already, so why would he leave the weakness? It's fine. And then you did it again. You played this one, which was the first move I queued in, was like, okay, this is kind of slow. This is the fourth move you played in this corner, and for white, there's no more pressure on the two stones, personally, to me, than there was a move prior ago, because I'm not really interested in saving them directly. I'm just interested in what they can give me overall for the upper right quadrant.
So how am I meant to know that? I mean, what's the difference between that just being a weak group?
Well, it is a big group. It's just after you commit a whole stone in Gote, white's just not going to save it.
Okay. Yeah, because already that is good for white.
Yes. So here, white just treats them like, okay, they're two light reduction stones in the area. And we could kind of see if, like, let's say the starting shape was this. It's like white started by playing here and black answered this way and allowed white to come in once. We could see just from the purpose of if this started off as a white reduction, these exchanges are already good for white. Why does white need to continue? Right. So using the same principle of Tawari in reverse for the actual game is how white can arrive at that same thought process here. Okay, it's like I just reduced from the fifth line and black accepted the reduction. So at this point, my goal is to use these stones productively in the center or the right side. It's not for these stones themselves to become a living group.
Yeah. So this is just a high level concept, I guess, because when we start learning Go, we want to defend our weak groups, but then when you get to a certain strength, you realize, actually, I can just use these.
Yeah, it's when you're building a group for the purpose of becoming a group, it's harder to give the group up. But one thing we have to understand is an approaching move is just a probing move. I'm just asking you what you're doing in the corner. If you answer, it became a Kakashi. It's a forcing move. I jumped to ask another question. What are you more interested in, the side or the corner? Because you never answered the original question. You answered the original question with B. So now that I got my information, I don't need to play any further. I do have the option to jump in at A, or to invade at B, or to press at C, or to pinch at D. I could do all these things. But that was not my plan with the stones. That these to me are not the biggest thing I could be doing on the board right now. Against 6 handicap, I need to spread out a bit more. So for me, the urgency is not on defending them. The urgency is on leaving the Aji open. You can't stop all 4 in one move. The best that black has in this position, realistically, is this one. Because with this one, you thicken the corner. This is a really good placement. You thicken the corner, and you remove a lot of eye space from white. Now, if white is trying to fly in, block is in a natural place, right? And this move is not working anymore to get an eye. It allows white to break through a little bit, but black is already alive in the corner, and again, white doesn't have that eye. So when the fighting ensues, it's going to be the strongest shape black can have. This one has a chance to become bad placement like it does later in the game, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, the San, the one you just played, it looked to me like that would be a timid move, especially in a handicap game, you know, me kind of carrying into the corner, but...
The shape is thick. We have to understand that about Iron Pillar and Kosumi, that they're both very thick shapes.
Yeah.
The reason we like Kosumi in that placement more than the Iron Pillar, for example, is because this Iron Pillar leaves the invasion Aji much easier for white here. Right? Because if we attack it, this peak, white can follow up with this Knight's move, or white can follow up with the push, which is going to give white an eye. Again, this is just looking at the local shape. But if that stone is on the diagonal, it's tighter for white. in the fight to gain eye here. It's not actually clear where the eye is going to come from. So it's just about understanding the function of your form, the difference in function between iron pillar one space jump. Assuming here the shape makes a difference.
Could you pass me control for a second?
Sure. There you go.
So I don't know how others experience you. For me, I hear you talk, and it's so many high-level things coming through so fast. The levels are too high for me to put in practical. So, George, let me tell you my idea here. We look at White's group in the top right. Let's look at the best straightforward thing it can do. It can get one eye. That's not enough. So what are you doing with your move? You're stopping it from doing something that's not very much.
Yeah, sure.
So this move, that's way more serious to me.
Yeah.
White's only way is to escape, and corner's not going to cut it. So that's the way I would put it.
Sure. I remember thinking I made that move that White wants to go to the corner before the side, before the center. But I guess this is like a small-ish step towards the corner, and therefore we don't consider it.
Well, I also wouldn't play here. I'm only playing there to show that, well, White needs to escape. So since there's nothing I can do right now, I would wait.
Okay.
It's making sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep. All right. So looking at it, the left side is also kind of very similar, George, in that once I noticed you're going to play just super thick the whole game, I sort of changed the idea a little bit. And I made this push. I even told Lance, I said, okay, he can Hane and accept it. But no matter what you did, I was coming here.
Yeah.
That was always the plan.
But I could have played away, presumably, right?
Yeah, we could have. It would not have changed. Would not have changed what I did. But yes, you could have played away.
But I could
generally
have jumped there instead, like at F 16, F10.
Yeah, possible. If you had jumped to F10, it would still be easy enough for White to reduce. Because at that point, I can just aim at the highs. That should be enough.
Yeah. It's around that other step.
So they're like Miai in a sense. In general, the handicap games, my goal is to make these two stones on the side bad placement or inefficient during the game. Because if you can do that, it's like the handicap move itself becomes wasted if it's in a bad spot.
So should I drop the other side in the corner?
I think this is fine. But here, I think you need to be more assertive and not just accept the exchange. You're strong. There's absolutely no reason why you can't help on it here.
Yeah.
If White is weak, White should be connecting. If White is strong, White can think about cut. But the case here is White's not strong. Black is strong. So if White plays something like this, White is still the one under attack, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy for White. So if you double Hane, White fix, at that point you can just stretch. White will get to Hane. White can cover, but now there's no issue, and then you can return to your move. And White has the 2-week group situation coming on now.
Yeah. The Atari and the Atari and cut for Black, I assume, are probably both not good, right? They're helping White.
You're talking about the fighting. This one?
Yeah.
They require ladders. So like this one would require this ladder to be working, which maybe it does in some cases, maybe it doesn't. And it would also require this ladder to be working, usually speaking. Yeah. So if you start the cut in the fight, and then let's say you connect here, and your plan is going to be like, okay, ladder doesn't work for White. White's just going to leave it on the left. White's not going to continue. White's just going to play something else that's big and also breaks the ladder. Because then you'll have to spend another step, right? And then even if you spend another step, White's still going to get value at the center out of it, even giving away the left side.
And I would say the move you played made you really thick right next to something really thick. So it's just a waste.
Yeah, very thick next to very thick. This one should be the right place. Here, I just treat it like, okay, good forcing exchanges. They're going to be quite useful later. I'll just take the last corner. Black is supposed to get this corner when white takes this corner at A, but somehow white got both. So feeling is white gained something. And I chose to play this one because now that I've seen you play super thick in 3 other corners, I chose a variation where it's very hard for you to do that without giving me my fight. This was very strong. I like this move. If white had just simply come out, black could defend the right side, something like this, and it's going to be much harder for white to do anything there. I see this a lot in low-down games, Q games. This is really not a good way to be playing. So if you're playing like this at home, don't do it. You're only helping your opponent win faster. Which is why I started here, because it only takes 2 moves to look at the jump and go, okay, I don't really like that. And we've already said we're comfortable giving them up because we ignored black A. So if they're already reduction stones whose sole purpose is Aji, we should ask it, right? So this is where the questioning move comes from. This is, of course, the strongest answer, so I think that was fine. But here, it looks like maybe black should have played something like this.
Well, that's pretty.
Yeah, this is what I was expecting. What I was expecting to happen. If white plays Atari and like push, and even just connect like this, the corner is still going to be fine for you because you can just simply block it, and black has kept all the territory.
Yeah.
Even though white gets to attack 3 stones, you can give it. It's not so impressive, right? You can imagine even at this point, black can just give Atari, and it turns out actually that A is just too slow. So white will have to fight somehow, either extend or diagonal, some type of move here to handle, because I can't give you the whole left at this point. It's too much territory if you keep the whole top corner, which this is going to allow black the opportunity to seize initiative. And there are many different ways. You can play A, for example. You can play B. You can attack from C. You can peek at D, although D is usually a bad exchange. But many different things you can think of to bother it. Even this jump is working, right? So I think it's fairly easy if black can just play Atari and then seal. I was not expecting to see connect, which was a bit soft. And so I bumped the head. And as I was talking during the game, of course, white could accept this type of thing. But this type of fighting is not super advantageous to white in most cases. White getting 1 more move can set up the crane's nest, but black can block the crane's nest and then cut. This is the reading I had. And it's a bit of a fight, but the corner's alive, the right's alive. Black only has to defend the center, and white's kind of on the back foot.
This is the fight that I'm really trying to avoid, because I know that you can read far better than me. So I feel like if I get into a situation like this, something's gonna die very quickly.
You should play more situations like this then.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way you improve these.
Yeah.
But I think if it goes something like this, black should be better at this fight. I don't really see an easy way for white, because this sort of thing is not going to be working when black can't see the cut.
Yeah.
Like white could extend to try to fix all the shape, but then white has already given too much to get the scoop in the center, even if that body still just Atari. So it's not super simple for white to play this way. And this is why during the game I choose to bump. The normal sequence is that like it would usually go something like this, and white can make a living group somehow. In the game I chose to avoid this one and extend. And that's because white has to play actively 6 stones. The normal method isn't always going to be enough. The drawback of playing this extension is that black can find the best move. If black plays Hane here, white's going to have to spend some extra time trying to find the right way to live, either this or some such. And in all of these situations, you just come back to this one, and I think it's enough. Because like this, you have to remember you already get a profit, right? You improve your Q18 stone placement and you keep the corner, which didn't happen during the game. Because what ends up happening instead is I play this one and you play essentially a passing move with this jump here.
This is
The corner is always fine on its own because you can play this sequence and just go for the retrade. So because of that, when you jump here, white's able to take away the Hane that should be black's right. When this situation comes, it's black's right to play Hane here and then drop to squeeze the eye space, right? You can force white to take it. White's going to live, but the life is quite painful. But now all of a sudden, somehow it's like white managed to get both. So it feels that white is gaining something. This was a very strong move, but still probably should have been here or here if you're going to play locally. And I think in the whole board scheme of things, probably this block is going to be better because just have white play away. Later you have cut, Hane, connect, and white shape is pretty bad. It's hard for white to break through the center now because white is done smart. So there's a bit of a tactical implication here as well. So I think when you miss this, it's a lot of pressure off of white. And so I'm just trying to punish you now for overcommitting to capturing the 2 stones. That's what this speak is for. But I'm also very lightly trying to surround this and give some meaning to my AB on the left side. I'm already planning to think about extracting at 1 or 2 or descend at 3 or jump to 4. Like all these are considerable options in the shape for white. Then this was becoming slow, so white extended. Lance was pointing out during the game that one of the benefits of white getting this jump move is that black can no longer cut because the ladder works for white. So that's the ladder question there. Normally in this shape, you should be playing fine. And the idea is that you'll get this move in the center at some point, either now or after you play shape. Because if white has to make shape like this, then black has already stabilized on the left side and seems good enough for black. We can come back and fix now. And black has some profit. But yeah, this doesn't come. Instead, you play another pass move. And so these A-B moves become really meaningless, so to speak. So
I'm coming too early, right?
Yeah. So I just offered to retrade. Now the cut is working for you. Probably you should be taking it. Or if you think that you have the means to fight in the center strongly and get more, you can consider something like this instead.
Nice.
And this one is just really thick, trying to surround white. You can also play knight's move. You can also cap like in the game. But I think in general, you don't want me to get both. It's going to be very difficult. And this one was also not a great exchange. Later, you had things like this attach or this bump, which were really annoying to deal with. Or even knight's move here, which can be quite annoying to deal with. This exchange is strictly helping white. There's very little benefit for black to play this. Because if we sort of think about it like, okay, we make a pass move and then white tries to cut you, cut doesn't mean much. White can't really do anything with it without stepping one move backwards to connect, in which case black is just going to fix anyway. So it's kind of like protecting against ghosts. There was nothing there, so the exchange is only going to benefit me. And this one might have been too aggressive. I think I was prepared to deal with this. I talked about this a little bit during the game. Normally H8 comes and black is sort of banking on the center, but it's countable, but the center is only going to be about 60 points. And when I counted for white, white was close to 40 already. So it's like, okay, it seems reasonable that if black tries to take the center and go, white should be able to catch up quite a bit. I think this one, if there were 2 game-losing moves, this was the first of the 2 game-losing moves. The second one was very clearly the endgame mistake, but this move is the one that really lets white catch up a lot. Before this, you still have at least half your handicap, if not a little more. You needed to play the knight's move. And it's not even a negotiation, it's an only move. You need to play it.
I didn't even think of it. I mean, of course, I thought of the push from behind, but I was thinking that if I played a move in Goto to take the center and then I pushed, then it seems like I'm trying to take both and I'm not going to get both.
No, so you have to recognize that even though h8 has secondary goal of the center, you're still pressuring my weak group. But you can't just give up the 3 stones. Those 3 stones are keystones. They're very big. If white gets to capture those, it's a lot that white catches up when white takes it. And the reason we play B over A is because white's group is weak. Contacting the weak group is going to make it stronger. So pushing from behind is only going to help white, which is why we would prefer to play lightly, because white could press in, but no benefit comes from this exchange. It's just a self-Atari type exchange. White's losing liberty and creating more shortages. White could defend, but black is going to be able to build the center anyway, right? Even if white does somehow manage to connect out, the result is not going to be such that black is going to be dead or anything. Black is quite alive inside, and black gets the center.
Yeah, seeing C7 as very big, plus defending 2 groups, and also bothers white tremendously. Fantastically large move, yeah.
Yeah. So when I saw this one, I was like, okay, it's no brainer. I have to capture. And now it's a much harder fight because you have to read my Hane, you have to read my cut. You have to read so many things. Plus, you created a secondary weakness, and white already still had the wedge at A. So there are ways potentially white could exploit this weakness via this wedge or this attachment at B. It's very hard to hold both now. So you sacrifice and you protect against that. I make 1 exchange and then I fix thickly. And now white has gained quite a bit. And I think the lead from black shrinks from maybe half the handicap to a little more than 1.5 stones.
I noticed your group on the left and your group on the right were so efficiently placed, because without either of those groups, it would have a huge moyo on that side.
Yeah.
On the right would be massive, on the left would be massive, but with those 2 groups there.
That's kind of the strategy behind attacking the 2 side points, right? Because weaker players don't really know how to use these stones well. This is just part of the psychology of understanding the player level. And I see it a lot when 2Q players or even up to 2-dan players try to play with Sanrense. They always use these stones wrong. They're just not in the habit of handling high place stones on the sides of the board yet, because they don't have the right trade mindset. So they're only looking at the immediate local benefit. They're not really considering the whole board implication. And when you understand that, you can attack them more efficiently, and that's where these situations come from. This I thought was really good, but then you didn't block. No reason not to block here, because you can block and jump. It's quite good, actually. White can't cut. White is dead.
Okay. It wasn't sent against the corner.
So this is going to be very big. If white ignores this, then this is a bad life and death. White is dead.
Okay.
And this is a classic life and death problem. Like you should. This is a must know. This is the mouse stealing oil in the center. Yes.
Yeah.
So now, if white doesn't answer, white is dead. White must connect. It's either connect or tiger's mouth. The white needs one of them to live. This one is also another famous life and death problem, by the way. This is where it comes from. Okay. But this block is a must move. Even here, you should still do it. Granted, it's going to be worse because this is just a good exchange for white. But the block was a must move. When you don't take the block, and I get to play this money, I make up so much.
Yeah. Why is that exchange good for white at C10?
Because if black doesn't, so without this exchange, for example, black had the option to play here.
Okay.
And it's very hard for white to stop this, right? Because if white tries the attach method, you're just going to capture the cutting stone. And if white goes here, you can jump backwards or even push. So really not so easy for white to kill this particular move. When you play this, you don't really get that move so easily anymore. You can still play the Hane, but it's going to be not so clear. White's going to get more benefit in the center, plus you're going to end up taking rotate. And so in general, it doesn't really make sense to make this exchange unless the plan is going to be to extend after the fact. Because like, let's say you do it, and you come back to this sort of thing, right? And okay, white makes a life, or let's just have black take rotate elsewhere. If white gets to come back here, then this didn't really do anything, it didn't mean much. So as far as like endgame goes, it probably loses only a couple points, but it's just not really a good exchange. It's not necessary.
Guys, I have to go. You guys can continue as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, if you'd like. We can probably end the recording here, though. I think that's pretty good because the next big mistake that comes is the one where George messed up the end game at the very end. So,
okay, Chris, thank you so much. You did that was really fun. Some of the stuff you did, what you did on top at the end was like, holy cow, where'd that come from? Just kind of like, bam.
It was a happy donation by George. I couldn't have won it without him.
Okay, viewers, we'll see you all later.
See you, Lance.
Yeah. So here, the end game is still slightly favorable for you, but white did make up quite a bit, getting to capture A, block at B, defend at D. These are all even.
Sorry, I just realized the call is still being recorded. I don't know how that works. I hope we don't lose the recording somehow.
Probably not, but we'll see. If so, I can always just make a re-recording of the review of the game.
Okay.
But yeah, white being able to, like, all of this, capturing A, blocking at B, diagonal exchange and Sente at C, and then the slide at D, were all positive, net positive gains for white in the end game. Here, I played this in the end game because I wasn't certain on the right side what was going to be bigger between like A, B, C, D, E. So I just tried to shore up the end game a little bit. This I thought was quite good. This was always your right, so that was fine. That was fine. And then this I thought might have been a little small. A lot of times it can be between 8 to 14 points, but it's a small 8 to 14 points compared to other things. Like, for example, you could make this cut and then clamp. Or like, if you don't think the cut clamp works, like, you could do, like, for example, this block first before coming in to try to see what white's going to do. Or you could play, this one is not small. Play this Hane, which is quite large. Even this jump is quite big. I think all of those are probably bigger than this. Because white is not going to answer anymore. Because for black, follow-up is not so impressive. You already destroyed most of the points, so I need to get back to territory elsewhere, which is why I play this. This, I think, is a small mistake by me. I should have played the Hane, or I should have played the extend here next. Because actually now black has the timing to exchange this in Sente. Actually, there's nothing here for white. You can cut. Yeah, you can cut and then cut again, because that inside liberty at Q9, no matter which way white tries to push in the center, black can just simply get Atari and come out. So no liberty issues. But when you extend here, it's another small gain for white because white can Hane connect now. And then this is also a very small move compared to other endgame.
Yeah, I nearly played F7 at this point.
Yeah, F7 would have been big. K3 is not small. This tiger's mouth is surprisingly not small. There were many points in the game where even getting this cut and then something here could have been quite big, because there's a bit of a squeeze tessage that makes it very difficult for white to cut without burning a liberty. So this is a combination that you could have done as well that would have been quite large in the end game, because white would have been forced to block and now you kill the corner.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So this would have been something where like white couldn't connect. White would have to give it. And then in this situation, white could block here, or white could descend. And that would fix the Aji in the corner. White would live, but black gains so much in the end game. That's really the biggest thing black could be doing at this point. And that's why when you don't take it, I immediately clear that up with these two exchanges. Probably didn't give as much prudence to them early enough, though, because I think it was quite large for quite some time, actually. It's been possible ever since you blocked here. So that means maybe at this point I should have exchanged these. But I didn't quite consider it. I hadn't really thought about this combination at this point yet, being a working sort of squeeze idea that black could have here to force the corner or this way. Like there's a whole lot of baraji. Even if white does manage to take, it's still quite big. So you could have caught me slipping in multiple points here in the end game. Yeah, so, but once white fixes that, a lot of that baraji was gone. I set up a very similar sort of squeezing shape on the bottom here, which you make a small endgame mistake with. Yeah, this one was already dangerous. This is the key point to continue from now. If white goes through, it's just about stopping white's Atari. So now you can take Sente, and you can play the biggest endgame, which would probably be going for this Hana and disconnects. White could block. But yeah, this answering this just didn't quite work. And then here you can actually do Atari. So if we look at something like this, white can never connect because of the capture. So at this point, black can just push if white connects. Right? So if white blocks, then obviously white's dead. So that means white can't connect here. If you play this one, I have to back off this way or by connection at P3. If I play P3, you'll get to capture. And then you can choose to fight the ko or you can choose to fix it. If you fix it, white has to calculate. White's probably gonna try to go underneath like this to just not have to add a move in the corner. But this would have been saving you some points in endgame, rather than just losing all the points here. But overall, very solid game, George.
Thanks. Yeah, maybe a little too solid.
Well, I mean, you were winning until the very end, so
yeah,
it was panning out as far as winning the game went.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Chris. That was a lot of fun.
Take care, George.
Yeah, let's hope. I think, yeah, hopefully we have the video, but we'll find out shortly, I guess.
We'll find out.
Yep. Cool. See you around, Chris.
Yep. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.